Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and as of this morning, Tuesday, June 21st, we of course have the third target of Season 9, unlocking Lieutenant Chang, which of course gets us one step closer to finding Captain Lewis. And so, what I figured I would do is that now that the seasons are actually giving us, pretty relevant story information almost every week, I thought it'd be fun to create a little series where every time a new target unlocks, I will do it on the day that it comes out, assuming that I can, and just do a video kind of showing everybody what the new comms are and kind of talking about what that means for the overall story. You know, last week with Sergeant Daniels, we of course had a pretty big bombshell that I won't say yet because I won't get into spoiler territory quite yet. But it just seems like it would be fun. You know, I enjoy story stuff. I don't have a backlog of lore in my mind like some people do, but I still enjoy learning about the new details and the new story stuff. And, you know, as opposed to seasons, 1 through 4, we would be lucky to get an interesting story bit maybe once or twice per season. Now it seems like we're getting at least 1 or 2 per target, and I assume once we get to Lewis here, we're going to learn some pretty interesting stuff. And so that didn't change today. I wouldn't say there was anything quite as big as last time around with Daniels, but some of the comms here for Lieutenant Chang are indeed pretty interesting, and so I figured it'd be fun to go over it and keep this trend going moving forward. So certainly let me know down in the comments below if this is a series that you definitely want to see me continue moving forward with the rest of the targets in Season 9 and of course Season 10 and onward. But for today, I think the structure or format that I want to follow is that we're just going to go over and play each of the new comms, and then I'll just kind of give my thoughts on them, and at the end we'll give one more kind of overall opinion and kind of talk about any potential connections or anything like that. So of course we're going to go over the 3 from Lieutenant Chang and then the new insurance policy, and so it should be pretty cool. Let's get into it. Here is the first comm, collaboration.
General Anderson, I just wanted to send my condolences about Dusk and her team.
Thank you, Schaefer.
Moving forward, is there someone else you'd like me to work with?
That won't be necessary.
The division has control of your supply routes in D.C. How do you think you'll survive without our assistance?
Well, Lieutenant Chang has more than enough experience organizing transpo and supply drops. We no longer require your services as a glorified errand boy.
I think you're making a mistake.
I've only made 2 mistakes in my life. The first was trusting Lau. The second was letting her bring you into our operation. Good night, Schaefer.
Okay, so there we go. Off the bat, we're seeing the separation of the partnership between the Black Tusk and the True Sons, which of course, well, what's kind of interesting about a lot of these, because Schaefer is featured in, I want to say, almost every single comm this time around, all this is taking place in the past, like during or before the events of Season 3, because currently Schaefer is in our custody, presumably, somewhere. And so the one thing I do find kind of strange about this comm is that Anderson says that one of the 2 mistakes he's ever made was trusting Lau, and that kind of implies that that's after the events of Season 4, I would assume. Otherwise, I'm not entirely sure what event he's talking about in which she proved herself untrustworthy to the partnership she had with the Black Tusk and them. Whatever, that's really besides the point. Otherwise, I think this is a very interesting comm. We see, of course, Anderson and Schaefer kind of hashing it out, and I think it's funny to see the kind of quips between them and the insults. I do like that we have Anderson as like a figure that's not going to be obviously taken down this season because he isn't the prime target. So we, like I said, way earlier before they even brought on Season 9 and TU15, we need that world building, and this is exactly what this is doing. So yeah. Also, Dusk is featured in like every single comm here. I wish I'd paid more attention to her in Season 3. I thought she was just kind of a one-off, rogue agent like the rest of them. She's been so integral to like every single story beat this season. So, that's cool at least that they're bringing that back a bit. But yeah, pretty interesting comm. Let's move on to the next one. All right, let's take a listen now to new leadership.
Natalia, Schaefer, just got off the horn with General Anderson. He's decided Black Tusk supplies and assistance are no longer required. The True Sons are on their own, and any tentative peace we may have brokered has been severed by the death of Lynette Dusk Edwards. I'm not comfortable working with the Hunters. This arrangement is creating more problems, and we are losing allies. This is not why I joined the Black Tusk.
All right, so this one kind of takes up immediately after the previous one where Schaefer gets off the phone with Anderson and he leaves a call for Natalia, basically breaking down that the partnership with the True Sons is over, mainly responsible, at least on his part, because of the actions of the Hunter that we saw in Season 3 and how he's just kind of fed up with how that partnership has turned out. So this, again, is very interesting. We learn more about the Hunter and the kind of relationship that it was having with the Black Tusk and Barden. We are going to learn more about that in the last 2 comms, so I won't say too much yet. But again, pretty interesting stuff. This has some overlap with the next comm, so let's just move on to it right now and take a listen. This one is Another Player.
Schaefer, this is Chang. Come in. Good to hear from you, Lieutenant. You change your mind about working together?
No.
So this is a social call?
Dusk was a good woman and a damn fine soldier.
I know.
She was going to meet you, and you got her killed.
You know that was beyond my control.
You weren't even there. You left her to die.
You're right. I wasn't there. We've run into some complications.
What kind of complications?
There was another player on the field.
What the hell are you talking about?
Those division agents weren't the only ones targeting her.
You make it sound like she was being stalked.
Or hunted.
All right, so this one is probably my favorite of this new set. I think it's pretty cool, and it has some pretty interesting information. So the first thing, again, Dusk was integral to this entire plotline with the True Sons in Season 9. I think it's cool that she's kind of the catalyst for a lot of these interpersonal arguments and relationships between the characters. But then we, of course, get the target for this week, Chang, talking to Barden after the separation between the True Sons and the Black Tusk, and they kind of talk about, or Barden alludes to, the hunter. And I like how Chang is like, she was being stalked, and he says, or hunted. That's pretty cool. But what this kind of confirms, or at least leans towards, is saying that the hunter is hunting any type of agent, regardless of if they're division or rogue. You know, after last week's target where we got kind of the, I won't say confirmation, because of course things can always change, but the suggestion that the hunters are working for Homeland Security, there was a really great theory that somebody left in the comments that the hunters could be a separate agency or separate, division, quote unquote, that goes and hunts down any agency's members that end up, going rogue from their mission. And I use those terms ironically. Basically, any agent of the government in any department that goes off mission, the hunters would be sent out to eliminate that threat to the entire organization, right? And so that would support the theory, I would think, to say that this hunter was stalking and hunting not only us division agents, but all the rogue targets that were in Season 3 as well. That would kind of back that up. I think that's very interesting. And again, the general dialogue in this comm I thought was really cool. So another good one here in another player. Let's take a listen now to the final comm from this section, which of course those three were for the target of this week, Lieutenant Chang. And then of course after that, we unlocked a new insurance policy, Tactics.
What can I do for you now, Schaefer?
I'm just wondering where we got that support from.
That's need to know, Schaefer. And frankly, you don't need to know.
I'm not comfortable with how things went down with Dusk. She was a patriot.
She was a rogue and a thorn in your side that Cal helped us remove.
Cal isn't Calvin McManus, is he?
How do you know that name, Schaefer?
The Secretary of Homeland Security isn't exactly a secret agent, Natalia.
Miss Sokolova.
I'm sorry. You're right. Ms. Sokolova. I don't know what kind of operation Cal is running, but I'm not comfortable with this kind of support.
Noted. Schaefer, I know this has been difficult, but you have a habit of losing sight of the bigger picture and remembering your role in this organization. You could learn a lot from the people you are working with.
Okay, so again, not quite as big as last time's insurance policy where we had Faye kind of drop the bombshell that at least that one hunter was working for Homeland, but here we kind of see the fallout of that where Barden contacts Natalia about this whole revelation and tries to get some more information. I like how you can see them kind of butting heads here with her reminding him to not call her by her first name. I think that's a pretty cool show of power and a show of status. It is pretty interesting that I also thought it was really funny that Schaefer then tries to make it sound like he knew who Cal was when Faye had to tell him. But in general, I like that it kind of shows that Natalia's trying to keep it not necessarily a secret, but clearly she doesn't expect everybody to know who Calvin McManus is. And I think that kind of points to the idea that he is within the U.S. government and that whatever collaboration they have planned is still ongoing and is something that is developing, and that she doesn't want anyone to get in the way of that. I appreciate throughout these comms that Schaefer kind of came to the conclusion that he doesn't appreciate the support of the hunter, or at least he views it as becoming too problematic because it was hunting his own, partners. It was severing ties I had with the True Sons and just overall becoming a problem that he wasn't willing to deal with. And that's when Natalia said, contact Cal. And then this is where this whole kind of debacle came from. So overall, we don't really get a ton of resolutions this week, but we do indeed get a lot more details about the different relationships and how the hunter played into a lot of that stuff. I really like how the themes of Season 9 are really playing off of Season 3, giving us a lot more background and information on the stuff that we saw take place back then. And overall, I'm really curious to see where this is going to develop in the final target, and then of course with Captain Lewis. So there you have it, folks. Those are the 4 new comms for the latest Manhunt target of Lieutenant Chang. Some pretty interesting stuff, some more clarifications and details about stuff that we learned about not last week, but last time around with Sergeant Daniels. And just overall, they're deepening the lore, getting our intrigue more and more up. and I'm very excited to see where this is all leading in the culmination of Season 9, which is just a few weeks away. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts about these latest story developments. What do you think about some of the new information about the Hunter, about Barton's involvement, about all of his troubles that he had before we took him down and took him into custody? Additionally, do please let me know if you want to see the series continued with further manhunt targets in the future. Like I said, I really enjoy going over this stuff and generating the conversation, but of course I don't want to, if nobody wants to do it right when the target drops, then of course I'll take that into consideration. So certainly do let me know your thoughts, but I really appreciate your viewership, and yeah, let me know your thoughts about all the new stuff that we learned this week. I believe that's going to do it for me today, though. Everybody, once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold. Ow.